I always feel that I can learn from everybody. It doesn't matter. I mean, you can be in a room with people that really don't know what they're doing or don't know what they're talking about, and you can still learn from them. You can learn something from every situation. I think it's a mindset to be in that always learning sort of mentality. But I strive to be in rooms where I really almost have no idea what these, like, I mean, you've seen me on a lot of calls with people that are talking about stuff, and I'm like, I really got to keep up here, because like this is way out of my space. Hey, welcome to this week's episode of Pickles and Pasta with Steph and Jay. We are back in Pennsylvania, and we've decided on a really cool topic for you guys for this week. I think it's fitting because we go back and forth between Pennsylvania and New York. I think this is kind of very fitting. Um, our episode this week is when you're the most experienced person in the room. I'm currently in a room by myself, so I'm definitely the most experienced person in this actual room, not in the entirety of the house, but in this particular room. Um, but the idea around the topic is that a few different things. I mean, you're always told. I don't remember as an athlete and in business and everything, you're like, you don't ever want to be the smartest person in the room. You don't want to be the one who knows everything. It's how can you learn, right? You learn being around people that are better than you. When I was playing tennis, I didn't ever want to play against anybody. I mean, in a match, I wanted them to be way worse than me. But in practice, like in training, I always wanted to play with somebody that was better than me and stronger than me, whatever, so I could get better. Then when you get into, different worlds and stuff like that, but even in that world, there were a lot of times that I had that different feeling. So I think as we've navigated into different things in our lives, sometimes we are the most experienced person in a room. Um, we're in a new room or something like that, and then sometimes we're not. And I think it's an interesting how you navigate that, I think is interesting. So I'm sure, Steph, you have tons of experience in this, and you can maybe share a little bit about your perspective on the whole concept of it, even in general.
Well, I mean, it's very fitting for my life right now, for the past few years anyway. I think I realized I was the most experienced in the person in the room in many rooms, but instead of feeling elated and proud of it, it made me feel a little stuck, quite frankly.
Really? Okay.
And specifically, it has really hit me because I live in two places geographically. I live between Wyomissing, Pennsylvania, where we are right now,
Where Taylor
and
Swift is
New York
from.
City.
Where Taylor Swift is
Yeah,
from.
where Taylor Swift is from, yes.
Who's getting married any day
That's a
now.
whole, yeah, in New York City. So Taylor knows the difference between Wyomissing and New York City.
Ain't that the truth?
And it's interesting because those two places are at very different stages of the same story for me. And in New York City, I'm one voice in an enormous, mature ecosystem of galleries, collectors, art, creatives, fashion designers, the whole thing. And out in Pennsylvania and in New York City, I really have to earn my place. So like I'm a small fish in a really big pond. And in Wyomissing, it's very different. And it's not so much that, the people are so different. I mean, they are in many ways, but it's just that the ecosystem here is so different. It doesn't have the same infrastructure as New York. And when it comes to any of the things that I do, there are no real galleries. There's a couple of places to show art, but it's not a baked in ecosystem. And so for me, trying to, move into, different places as an artist and not just a designer, whether it's interior design or fashion design or accessory design, the ecosystem in New York is really cultivated and the one here isn't. And I move between the two. And so whether I'm experienced or not, the ecosystem has a lot to do with it.
I find for you in particular, being around a lot of these things, I mean, not in all the rooms that you're in, but obviously we talk about it. And a lot of times that I am in situations where we go to things together, you may not be the most experienced in the particular room that you're in, but you're most experienced person overall because you've lived these different lives, right? Like, I mean, you went to Paris in France when you were, what, 16, right? As an au pair, right? Not everybody does
Yes.
that. Not everybody does that. So you've traveled, and so even, you're in a room where, let's say, the artists are maybe a little bit more experienced than you are in some capacity as far as, how much art they've sold or how many galleries they've been in or how many this, but you surpass them in life, like by way more. And I find that, at least what I've seen, like a lot of times, even if you're not the most experienced in that specific space, people are looking at you like they want your opinion. They value what you have to say. They want to hear what you have to think, you're thinking about certain things. And I think it's interesting. I mean, I think in a way, I don't know, maybe it's how you carry yourself or how your personality or something, but I find that interesting, right? Like you're not the most experienced in the particular area, but you're the most experienced, and how that it's like two different worlds. It's like being in it's interesting, I think.
Yeah, it is. It's very interesting. And, I think it's interesting that I put myself in these challenging positions when I really don't have
Yeah,
to.
no, you don't. You throw yourself and you're like, how can I make this as complicated as possible and figure it out anyway? And you do, and you do it well.
Yeah. How it's like, how can I start over with my career time after time? Like, even when I started to have some fun today, I was turning 50 and I didn't have to do that, but for some reason, I think I like a challenge,
Yeah.
and here I am now at 60, I'm in my 60s now, and it's like, oh, it's time to get into the art world.
Well, I
you
look,
know?
I mean, you say that, but look, you've been an artist your whole life. I mean,
I
let's
have.
call this. You've been an artist your whole life.
I have.
Granted, your art is different. Your art evolves. Lots of okay, that's natural, whatever. I think you're taking it to a different place. It's not like you're starting a whole new thing. It's not like I don't know. It's not like you're going into bioengineering or med tech or something like that, where you're like totally in a different world. That's not what you're doing. You're kind of being like, okay, I've done this. I've done my art this. I've done this. This is where I feel is my place. So you are, of course, starting at the bottom because if you would have been living in New York for the past 15 years, it'd be different, or 20 years. So there's that part, but it's not. And I think that's the interesting part because it's like you're new, but you're not really new. Like you go into these rooms with some of these artists, or you're on these calls with some of these artist groups that you're in, and they're like, "Oh yeah, how many pieces of work do you have?" Like, I don't know, about nine. I'm 12 or whatever, and you're like, "Oh, I've got like 1,000." Like, I mean, you have a.
Maybe not. I don't have a
I
thousand, but
know,
I do
I
have a
know, I
lot.
know,
I
I know.
have.
You don't have 1,000. I know, I
I
know,
know.
I know.
I
But
know.
you know what I mean. Like, I'm sitting here in the gallery that we call our home, and there's art everywhere. Like, I mean, and in the apartment. I mean, I really like our apartment. I think it's a really nice New York City apartment. We're very blessed. We're very lucky. We found this place. It's a nice apartment. It's not huge. It's not Taylor Swift's apartment, but it's a nice size apartment, and we're very comfortable. And when we first moved there was some of your art there, and we had walls. Like there were walls. They were white. They were walls.
I was trying to be minimalist.
Yeah, well, I'm the minimalist in the relationship, clearly. Um, but it's like I don't know why I get. I mean, over the years, I've gotten more and more minimalist and stuff like that. I don't know if it's because of the TV shows, the cop shows that I used to love watching, and like you always have to have a go bag. So I kind of have that mentality, like I have to have my go bag. I have to have everything that I can wrap together in a quick amount of time if I have to get out of Dodge. But now, anyway, I'm off topic here. There's hardly a room. Like I was thinking about it the other day because like we used to have so we used to have an air conditioner in the living room, and then the bedroom air conditioner broke, so we moved the living room air conditioner into the bedroom so that you could sleep comfortably at night and I could freeze my kishkas off. And we haven't, and it happened like in the winter, so we clearly didn't replace the air conditioner in the living room, and we've been purposely avoiding it, like mainly because it's so ugly. Like an air conditioner, it takes up the window. It's just not attractive. It's just, and I, I'm not like that guy. Like it has to be freezing, freezing cold. Like, and it's been, thank God. I mean, it's been comfortable and we've been okay. But I was thinking the other day of like, well, maybe if we get like some very attractive small fans, and I was like, well, I could put it in a corner there, and I'm like, wait, no, I can't put it there because there's a painting right next to it, and I could put it was like, no, that's not going. There's a painting right there. So anyway, you do points long explanation of you do have a lot of experience. Point being, as an artist. So even though you may not be as far along as some other people may be, you have a body of work that makes you more experienced in a lot of different ways. And I think that's probably it's got to be an interesting position to be in. Like my position of being the most experienced thing is very different than yours, but I would imagine it's an interesting feeling.
It's an interesting feeling, and we don't see ourselves. So if I'm talking to someone in the art world and they're they're looking at me, they know my work, they've seen my work, they've worked with me, they feel confident that I'm doing just fine. And I think that I don't see myself. And I think for some reason I'm striving to do better, to be better, to learn more. And I think I'm like that fly that like somehow a challenging situation is like honey to me, and I'm a fly.
Mm.
And I don't know if it's just like my curiosity of like wanting to experience some other aspect of my creativity that I haven't yet. So when you're doing that, you're kind of always starting something new in a sense. So I
Interesting.
think maybe that might have something to do with why I'm always trying a new thing that
So it's
I'm
like challenging yourself. Like you're
it's
challenging yourself, you're trying to learn more. So if you go into a room where you're not, the top of whatever, top of the pops, whatever, like now, oh, okay, well, I have to challenge myself. I have to work a little bit harder in this room because it's not my, yeah,
and somehow I like that.
yeah.
And I think there are some people that they go for that challenging situation without even really consciously realizing it. And maybe I do that, because there are so many things that I am interested in that I haven't explored. And I think it does take time to really dig into something. And it seems like every 10 years or so, I find a new thing to want to explore. And so I think this is just where I am now. The New York art world is very interesting to me. And I'm saying the New York art world, but I'm really meaning like the global art world. It doesn't have to be the New York art world. I think, the art world is really changing, just like everything is changing right now. I mean, entertainment is changing, and I would put art in the entertainment realm.
Yeah, I mean, art is, I've always, I mean, entertainment is a word that's evolved over the years for sure. I mean, you used to think of entertainment as, film, TV, music, maybe theater. But to me, I mean, art is entertainment, fashion is entertainment, hospitality is entertainment. I think there's a lot of things that are entertainment that weren't entertainment before. Um, but I mean, yeah, it is true. I mean, I know, charting your growth and all that other stuff. I mean, it seems like you do have this thing where like every 10 years you kind of do this thing to yourself. Um, I mean, which I think is cool. I mean, I think it's cool because you do grow. Um, but to be, to kind of circle back to like our topic of like the most experienced. I mean, look, I've had this where, well, so for one, I mean, I think it's an old expression of like, you don't want to be the smartest person in the which is usually not a challenge for me, but I have been in rooms where I am, and it's an interesting place. Like whether it's the smartest or the most experienced or whatever, it's a very interesting place because on the one hand, I always feel that I can learn from everybody. When my father taught me that, um, and or he reminded me of that, that it doesn't matter. I mean, you can be in a room with people that really don't know what they're doing or don't know what they're talking about, and you can still learn from them. You can learn something from every situation. I think it's a mindset to be in that always learning sort of mentality, which, I think I am to a great extent. Um, but I strive to be in rooms where I really almost have no idea what these like. I mean, you've seen me on a lot of calls with people that are talking about stuff, and I'm like, I really got to keep up here because like this is way out of my space. So it's interesting when you bounce between the two, and I think, I mean, for me, I tend to bounce between between those rooms like quite often, and I don't know if it's intentional or if it's just by the nature of how open I am to talk to people and to meet people and to learn, but um, I have found it that like when you like I'm in a room and I'm definitely the most experienced and saying I'm the smartest sounds just so so arrogant, which I don't necessarily think that. But you know, when you're the most experienced, you just know things that the person who may be much smarter than you just doesn't know. Like they just don't know it. They haven't experienced it, they haven't felt it, they haven't lived it. And it's I look at it not to be like, okay, well, let me teach these people because I am so superior to them. I'm looking at more of like, okay, how do I learn? Like, what's their experience? Like, what are they going through? What are they seeing? How do I learn from that so that I can feel that feeling that they're feeling? Yes, if I can add value to them, that's even better. But I've been in places where you see that, and the person with the most experience becomes this like condescending negative person. Like I know what I'm talking about. And I don't know, maybe if I just saw that at some point and it just so turned me off that I was like, I'm not ever going to be that person, like ever. So
I hear you.
it's
Yeah.
an interesting sort of situation of like you got to be in those rooms because there's something, but how do you kind of navigate those rooms so that the room itself is a good room and it's a good feeling and everybody's benefiting from it.
Well, I mean, I hear you, Jay, and it does. I feel like it takes work, and I feel like, for example, this weekend I'm having an art salon in the home here in Wyomissing where I do the work. And years ago, when I was involved in art here in Pennsylvania, that was an easier thing to do because I had this community and it kind of fit what was happening here in this ecosystem here in Pennsylvania at the time. There was more art happening amongst people that I was friendly with. And, you know, so much has changed in the past 20 years. And so now I'm trying to do that again, but the ecosystem isn't there. And so it's a challenge.
Mm.
And, you know, I guess I'm up for this challenge to create some type of community and open up the ecosystem here to be more receptive to being around art and not trying to sell, but just to like have a conversation around the art, amongst the art. And it's an interesting thing to be going through right now because it's different than it was and it's a challenge. And I can take all the experience that I've been gaining being in New York in that art scene and bring some of that here. But it's a totally different experience to do that.
Yeah, I mean, look, you are going to be the most experienced person in the room, you know, at the event this weekend. I mean, there's no gray area there. There's not
Well,
anybody.
I
Yeah,
would hope so.
yeah, like there isn't anybody that's going to walk into the house that's RSVP'd or that we're expecting that has more experience in the art world than you do. Like, you just aren't. This is a little different because you're like hosting something, so that's kind of the
Yeah.
idea. But it's still a tricky thing because people are going to ask questions, right? They're going to like, well, what were you thinking about when you did this? Or like, how did you come up with this? You know, it's just natural. People do that sort of stuff. So it's an interesting place to navigate, like to be the most experienced, to kind of not come across as arrogant, to learn because you're going to learn something, right? Someone's going to look at one of your paintings and going to see something that you didn't see, and that may teach you something. Like when you're working on another piece, you may be like, oh, I didn't realize when I used these colors or when I did this thing. Like you're going to probably get something out of it, which I think is super cool.
I mean, first of all, I'm doing this because I want to have more community
Yeah.
and I know that there are people that will enjoy it. And I want to have fun with it. I know when I go to art openings, it's not like I'm going to buy any of that art. I can't afford that art, but I love the experience. It's really fills me up. And I know other people that just being around art fills them up. And it's fun to look at, it's fun to be around, it's fun to talk about. And I think that there is a level of generosity that I personally feel like I want to be generous with my experience and share it so that someone might learn something or someone might be inspired to try it themselves or to go to more art openings. Like
Yeah.
there's something to me that's more generous rather than trying to put myself in a pedestal. Like that is so not at all what I am interested in doing really in any space. Like I don't want to ever be that person that thinks that I'm so experienced that I don't have time to learn or to share. Like it's really that would be the furthest way of being from how I want to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, listening to you talk about this, I mean, we haven't really discussed it in that manner. Like your experience, you're looking at the experience you have. You've been in rooms where you're not the most experienced. You've been in rooms where you are the most experienced, and you're using that experience of all these different rooms you've been in to kind of create something that didn't exist or it doesn't exist. Like you're trying to build a community, you're trying to build it. Not about it's not about you personally. It's about how you can take all this knowledge and experience that you have and do good with it in an interesting way. And the fact that you have the space, you have the house, you can do it, and you're opening yourself. I mean, yes, there's a shit ton of work to do, and looking at all the lovely food that I'm going to be enjoying, and hopefully they will too. But like, there's a lot of preparation in doing this. You spent weeks kind of organizing the house and doing different things, where things hang, and blah blah blah. And so, I think that's a very good way to use the experience that you have in a positive way to move it forward. And I guess that does come from you being in those situations, being in the rooms where you were the most experienced and you felt uncomfortable or comfortable. And how do you bring that together? I mean, that's a very positive thing. And I mean,
Yeah.
that's super cool.
I mean, I think creating community does start by someone who has more experience. That's usually,
Or not, right? Like sometimes it can
or
be like people that have no experience and they don't know better, right? Like, I mean, you talk about entertainment before. I mean, like, there's a lot of different things happening where people who have really no experience and they can't crack in because they have no experience. So they're creating things on their own. So, but you can look at some of these people, and I saw it, in Tribeca at some panels I was at, like, there were people that were 23, 24, 25 years old, didn't know anything about anything. They hardly even knew how to use a camera, but they were like, we're going to be content creators, we're going to be filmmakers. And they just created this stuff. And now here they are in rooms with 30, 40, 50, 60 year olds, studio level people. And the 23-year-old is the most experienced, right? Like they're looking at that person. And it's kind of this very interesting dynamic of how it changes. Like age is not the definition of experience. Wisdom is, as my father taught me also when I was very young. He's like, you can be brilliant at 5, at 12, at 30, but you can't be wise. You're not a wise person until you age. Wisdom comes with age, and it's a very different thing. So it's just interesting, I think, how there's these different you're seeing this now in a different way. I think it's such an exciting time, in that from the art world, it used to be this is the way it's done. It's this, and then this, and you have to do this, and when you do this, and then this, maybe this will happen for you, and this is how this works. And now that's out the door. That's not it. You have to kind of look at these things, and having experience, different kinds of experience, I think is probably the most important thing. And I think that's you're kind of proof positive of that, right? Like you've just experienced different things, and that kind of, I think that helps. That's helping you in the space that you're in right now.
yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, all of the things that I've done throughout my life help me be the person that I am today, that I feel confident that I want to create like an ecosystem and an experience when people come. Let's just say, the summer soiree this Saturday, the whole space is an experience. I want the food to be a certain way so that they enter and experience something that they haven't experienced in Wyomissing before. And that's really what I'm trying to create. I don't want to walk around, kind of showing off. That is so not. I want to
That's not your
share.
personality. Yeah, that's not your personality.
Yeah.
I
I
think,
want to,
yeah, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, I want to share the experience that I've gained over the long period of time in my career. And it's all kind of coming together. And I'm inviting people in to hang out,
Yeah.
you
I
know?
think what I've seen was because we've had a lot of different things that we've tried, and then there's frustration, like why aren't people getting this or why aren't people understanding that? And I think what I've noticed, and I think you've put a lot of work in, is you've taken the steps back. Again, part of that I think comes from being the most experienced person in a lot of rooms that you've been in. You've taken a lot in, you've learned from stuff. You're not, I don't think you've ever been this way, but there was a part of you, I think, earlier that like you knew something and you were frustrated that people just didn't get it. And I think you've come to this place and it's very clear in even in the way you set up the house for this event. You don't see this. You don't see this because you live this. I see it because I live it with you, but I'm in my skin, you're in your skin, although sometimes we change skins. But you're doing this in a way of like you have this experience, you have knowledge, you have certain things certain foods you've tried that are just not if you told somebody in a place we went to the other night where we had dinner. Even I told my friend the other day, our friend that I had coffee with yesterday, and I told her what our burger was, and she was like, "Whoa, that's such a wild combination." If you told that to somebody here, they would be like, "You need to speak English." Like we don't understand these food combinations you've just explained to us. So you're not doing this from us like, let me show you, I am the expert. You're looking at like, okay, I understand the palette of the room. I want to try to show them something that they may haven't seen before that's a positive experience for them. I don't want them to feel uncomfortable. I want them to feel comfortable. I want them to be in a safe place, which your home is, so they can experience something and that can grow. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And I think that comes with your experience of being in different rooms. I think it comes with your place of being in rooms where you may be the most experienced, but other people may be further advanced career-wise in certain things. And I think you've taken that and balanced that, and I think that's where your whole career is going. I think it's very beautiful. I think this is part of that journey.
Yeah. And I also think that you can't be afraid of your lack of experience or your advanced
Overabundance of
experience.
experience. Yeah.
Overabundance, yes. I think you just I've gotten to a place now where, and honestly, I'm learning all the time.
Yeah.
Like, honestly,
Sure.
you know, I got together with my friend who's much younger than me in the art world, and we were having this conversation about being in the art world and, experience and where people are along their career. And, and I'm trying very hard to have these conversations because when you're in your own experience in your own body, you see things very differently than other people see you. And I have a tendency to not really, I think, see myself the way other people see me.
Yeah.
I kind of downplay a lot of the things that I've done. And I don't
Yeah.
know why I do that, but
Well,
I
that's
know I
we
do
could have a
that.
whole episode about why you do that, but I don't think that's we
Well,
don't want to.
I think a lot of people do that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
There's probably
it's
so many accomplished people
for
listening
sure.
to this podcast and they can relate,
No, for sure,
They
for
can
sure.
relate to, them thinking that they're not where they want to be in life
Yeah, yeah,
with their
easy.
career.
Sure.
And, probably a lot of people would be afraid to like start a whole new thing. most people are looking to retire in a couple of years, and I'm like starting over again with a thing that I've kind of tried a few times and then gave up on because something else was more important, like with Have Some Fun Today. I was in the midst of doing the art thing and stopped,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I met with a couple the other day that I was introduced to through a very good friend, and lovely couple, a little bit older. And he said, I'm on my third retirement, and with his wife,
okay.
and she was like, and he was like, I can't screw this one up. I don't think she's gonna let me fail at retiring. Like he's failing at retiring. Like he doesn't know how to be retired. He's incapable of
I
doing it.
would not know how to do
Yeah,
it,
and it's
honestly.
whenever you say that, I'm like that's it's just funny. Like there's people that do that. Like they just can't. They can't stop. Like they're retired but not really. Like, and so she's kind of like, I need you to be retired, like a little bit. So it's interesting. But yeah, no, I feel
Maybe
you.
that's what it is a little bit. Like some people just can't really lay, I don't want to say, because I know a lot of people who are retired, they're not laying around. But for some reason in my brain, I just can't imagine
Yeah, look, I mean,
not
look,
doing stuff.
you've met a couple of, you've met I don't have a huge family anymore, but I mean, I have a few cousins and you've met them now. I think there's only one I think that you haven't met yet. And we had that little get together recently. And right there in that room, right? So you had like one of my cousins is a professor or something. I'm not going to say the college, but like a college in New York. And she's still at it. She's no reason for her to be working. It's not that she's old, but she could have retired. She's tenure, blah, blah, whatever, easily. Another cousin's a doctor, and he certainly could have, I mean, he could have retired, you would think. I mean, he could probably argue, be like, well, but we have this and this, and we have all these things we have, and I have to keep it. He and his wife have both had very lovely, God bless them. They're such wonderful people. They deserve even more success than they've had, but they're just lovely, beautiful people. A lot of people that could retire. Then I have another cousin. He's retired. Like he's done. Like he had the chance, he had the open window to retire, and he's like, "That's me. I'm retired." Now he's active, right? We ran into him at a movie the other day, which was the wildest thing in the world.
We did.
Um, yeah, you guys will probably get a kick out of this. We went to a movie. I know this is totally off topic, but who cares? We went to this movie 11:15 in the morning on a Sunday. That's dedication to seeing a movie that your friend is were producers on. It happened to be an excellent movie, but 11:15 in the morning for a movie, like seriously, guys. Anyway, we went. It was part of Tribeca. Went. So if you haven't been to Tribeca, there's these lines if you have a pass and this and that, but it's written on a piece of paper, like an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. There's a big sign that says tickets and passes, and the name of the movie is like this little small, so you can't really see it. So I went. The line was long. I went up to the front so I could read it. I walk up there and I turn around to walk back, and he was like, "Jay," and it's my cousin. And then he tells us afterwards, he's like, I was standing there and this guy walks by me, and I was like, my cousin has hair like that. I turned around and lo and behold, it's his cousin. So, um, anyway, these are different examples, right? Same overall family, obviously different parents, different things, whatever. But some people have that thing like, I've lived my life, I've done my thing. He does a little consulting here and there just to kind of keep himself, but he goes to baseball games, he wants the movie, he likes sports, he likes different things. So, I think it's an interesting thing of that, like you have this experience, and some people are like, I have it and I've done it and I'm good. And other people are like, how do I share it? Right. And you're using like this salon thing as you just were talking about. Like, we really didn't talk that much about it, but like you're using your experience. You're not looking to sell, right? It's not a sales thing. I mean, yes, it's fine if
Nope.
somebody wants to buy the art, we're not going to
I mean,
say no.
it's certainly a conversation that's open,
100%. Yeah, if somebody says I want to buy that piece, we're not going to say I'm sorry, it's unacceptable. Who do you think you're talking to? We don't sell art. We're not going to do that. But that's not what this is about. It's about the experience. It's about enjoying themselves, building a community, getting them to maybe go to some other art thing because they had a wonderful experience with you. So I think it's interesting how we use those different experiences from either being the most experienced in a room and what that felt like to being the least experienced in a room, what that felt like. And I think when you bring those things together, I think that's a really beautiful thing. It's not about money. It's not about whatever. It's a really good feeling. It's just a really, really good
I
feeling.
think I think for me it's about growth, as a human. Like obviously this is a community I care about. I love my experiences in New York City doing all the art stuff. And if I can bring stuff back and share it with the people that I'm around here, because this is where I'm making art, I think that's
Yeah, I
amazing.
think it's
You
fantastic.
know,
Yeah.
I'm craving, having more people come into my home, experience the art, have conversations about it, and have fun. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
It's just going to make my life feel more full and more, you just more like, I don't know, beautiful,
Yeah,
enjoyable.
yeah, I think that's right. I think we both. I mean, and we're not alone in this. I don't want to sound like we're so special, but I think we both really enjoy um, helping other people, and I don't mean helping like giving them a couple of bucks or lifting them when they fall down, like not that alone, although we do that too. But I think we really enjoy if we can give someone some knowledge, if we can make an introduction, if we can help someone with an experience we had so that their journey can be a little bit easier. Um, I think you've done that your whole life. I've done that from when I was 5 years old, like I was doing that with other people. So I think there's a lot of joy in that. And I think both of us do that, like, and you do it in your way, I do it in my way, but I think there's a real common theme there, like in that. And yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, no, I think.
I mean, as we're talking, it makes me think about, have some fun today. That also, I looked at that, creating that as a way to share that with the world. That was like that was the why. It
Yeah.
was like, wow, I've realized this is brilliant. And I think the world needs this. And so, in the same way, that's kind of how I feel about the art. Like I make it, it's to be shared. It's not for just to keep to myself. And I do think that Have Some Fun Today has built community. If you see someone out in the street and they're wearing Have Some Fun Today and you know me or you have some too, I mean, I've heard people have messaged me, texted me, sent me posts. Like just today in the grocery store, ran into two strangers who wanted to talk to me about Have Some Fun Today. Love the bag. They remembered seeing this woman walking into the post office today who actually turned out to be my mother. But there is something about community building that I don't intentionally do, but it is a byproduct of me and the art that I make.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Um, Very cool. So yeah, I mean, I guess to anybody out there listening, if there is anybody out there listening, I think, just think about that when you're in those different rooms. Like when you are in that room, whether it's in the office or the business meeting or out drinks with your friends or a picnic or whatever. Um, when you're the most experienced, like how do you navigate that? How do you elevate the room and share the experience without it being a negative thing, and how do you navigate it when you're not the most experienced, and how do you learn and how do you support whoever is, maybe there's someone who is the most experienced and they're not navigating it well. Maybe that's what you do. Maybe you help them because you've been there before. Um, but I think, all in all, use the experience of being the most experienced and try to get a real positive out of it and lift people up and do things together. And, I think that's a good thing for everybody.
I think that's a great note to end on.
Okay. And then that's what we shall do. Um, Thank you all for tuning in. We really, really, really do appreciate it. We're doing this and hoping that people enjoy it and that, they can take whatever they learn or hear from us and that can help them in their lives. And that would just be a wonderful thing. So thank you for tuning in and hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. And we will see you again next week. Bye.
Bye bye.